In the closing years of the 18th century, around the year 1798, a boy named Durham Avant was born in South Carolina. The records do not tell us the exact day nor the hour, but they tell us enough to know the kind of world into which he came. It was a land still young, shaped by forests, fields, and the steady labor of families who lived close to the soil and closer still to God. Durham grew to manhood in a time when a person's worth was measured less by words and more by what he can endure, build, and protect. Faith was not a private matter. It was the backbone of daily life. Men worked with their hands, rose with the sun, and trusted that the Lord would provide if they did their part. On the 7th day of June in the year 1824, Durham married Susan Winsett in Lawrence County, Alabama. Together, they began the work that defines so many frontier families: clearing land, raising children, and keeping faith through hardship. 4 of their children were born in Alabama, and those early years were marked by steady labor and quiet perseverance. Life in Alabama was not easy, but it was familiar. Durham worked the land, tended livestock, and provided for his growing household. Evenings were spent near the hearth, where Susan prepared meals and the children listened as Durham read from the Bible or spoke of distant places and opportunities beyond the horizon. Yet the early 19th century was an age of movement. Word traveled of rich land farther west, of Texas, a place spoken with equal parts promise and danger. By the early 1830s, Durham, like many others, felt the pull of that unknown country. Alabama offered sustenance, but Texas offered possibility. In 1834, Durham made a decision that would alter the course of his family's history. He gathered Susan and the children, loaded what they could carry, and set their faces west toward Texas. The journey was long and uncertain, made by wagon and horseback over rough trails, through forests and across rivers. Each mile carried them farther from the life they had known and closer to one they could only imagine. They arrived in Nacogdoches, one of the oldest settlements in Texas. It was a place of mixed languages, shifting loyalties, and constant tension. Mexican authorities still governed the land, though American settlers were arriving in increasing numbers. Durham found work, observed quietly, and waited. On the 26th day of October, 1835, Durham received a land grant from the Mexican government, 1 full league of land, for 1,428 acres. The land lay in what was then Houston County, later to become Freestone County in northeast Texas. It was raw land, unforgiving, unsettled, and demanding, but to Durham, it represented something rare, a future secured by labor rather than inheritance. Claiming the land was only the beginning. Trees had to be cleared, shelter built, fields planted. Durham worked from first light until nightfall. Susan kept the household together, teaching the children, tending the fire, and holding fast the faith when loneliness and hardship pressed in. Texas in those years was restless. Rebellion brewed, loyalties shifted, and danger was never far. Durham understood that survival required vigilance as much as toil. He listened, watched, and prepared, never seeking trouble, but ready to answer when it came. By the end of 1835, Durham was no longer merely a settler. He was a man rooted in Texas soil, responsible not only for land and family, but for defending a fragile frontier. The decisions he made next would draw him into conflict, service, and sacrifice, marking him as one of the many ordinary men who shaped Texas through endurance rather than legend. This is where his story truly begins. The real-life story of Durham Avant continues in the next video. Like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you'll be notified when the next video drops.